B, we would be going live on October the 1st. And you know, Marty, it looks like that one's going to hold true. So I think we should maybe just quit one for one. What do you think, man?
The end is in sight.
The end is always nigh, especially if you read something like the Daily Express. But how are you all doing out there? And if you're one of the many Wookiees in the chat right now, it wasn't some kind of quantum time slip when you logged in tonight. It really is that quick. And just how good does it look when you log in? That is just a taste of what is to come with the new site that has been built as we speak, behind the scenes by the absolutely brilliant Mr. Chris Geo. I can't wait for you all to share in my delight at seeing what the new site looks like. Honestly, something to look forward to, guys. And something else big to look forward to. On the 16th of October, our brother over in North Kakalaki, the man in the dismal swamp that they call Joe Joseph, he has managed somehow to secure a 3-hour Freaky Friday show with the one and only L.A. Marzulli. We are going Giants, Nephilim, Forbidden History. Aha! Just the kind of Freaky Friday that has made it such a brilliant show. So then, guys, before we get to the chat room, Marty, man, big day in the reality matrix, and we're going to be diving back into the kind of real news tonight as opposed to the woo. But how are you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, thanks, Kev. Good to be here. Big shout out to everybody tuned in right now. And what a day it really has been in terms of propaganda. The whole propaganda agenda has really been took up a notch, hasn't it, today? But we will get into it.
Oh, definitely. And, you know, I think it sent me a little bit dizzy. Maybe it's the fact I have been submersing myself in the real news again, the 3D reality news, as I call it, Johnny. We've got talk of wars, we've got mystery planes, we've got all sorts to get into tonight, man. But before we get there, most importantly, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Kev. Really good.
Do you promise you're not going to fall asleep on us, Whistles? Because
no.
A little birdie told me you haven't been sleeping right for days, man.
I've not been to sleep since Monday. But I'll get a sleep tonight.
You see, that is how hardcore the crew is here at KBS. We all take turns staying up, don't we, Johnny boy? You're on watch right now. But to keep you awake, I think you should venture into the chat room and give all of these Wookiees a shout out on the brand new chat server. This is why it's all so fast now.
Yeah, that's right. And there's 65 people, 66 in the chat now, Kev. And we'll start with One Stoned Wookie, excellent, Adolf Hitler, Agent Smithy, Alpha 777, Alpha Omega, Angry Scouse, Bardic T-Dude, Balder Bags, Bodama, Bridgewater, Cameron's a Gimp, he sure is, Choice Bro, Chris Geo, how you doing, brother? DJ Beetle, Do You Wanna Know, Eric of Oregon, hi Eric, George Boy, Gergs, Hell Yeah, I'm a Total Hunt, I love that, Icon Reese, Itharian, myself, John Teeter was here next week, Kev Baker, Naughty Boy, Mad You Know Who, Marty, Monkey Dude, Mr. Moon, Natural Sounds, Naughty Boy, Oliver Max, Paisley Buddy, Papa Bear, Pot Noodled, Reality Shifter, Red Inky, Ronnie Pickering, Rory Gallagher. Now there's a name that brings back some memories. What a fantastic guitarist and blues singer. Scottish John, Screwed McDuck, Silverman, Smug, Sonjav, Summer Laney, The Bad Buddha, Tim Osmond, Time Lord, Two Hats, Unconfirmed Truth, Unscripted, Vexstar, Wandinator, We Free, Worried Sheep, Anon, Wolf, Checkmate, Farmer John, One of Two, Dark Light, Star the Oracle, Dark Light, Percival, New Nature, Cave Lady, Ton Enterprises, Mystical Fairy, Odin Wild Hunt, and Madonna's X.
Holy heck, what is going on in the chat room tonight? I know we've got a new server, but Johnny, that was a fantastic run through the chatters. But where are they all coming from, Marty? This is unbelievable, man.
Oh, it's fantastic. And great one in there, Ronnie Pickering in the chat. A lot of people, especially over in the States, won't know who he is, but he's the victim of a video that's recently gone viral, a road rage video in which he shouts some abuse at a moped rider. Quite an amusing video anyway there, just clearing that up for the guys in the chat.
Oh, you best be sharing that with me off air, Big Marty, because I haven't seen that one yet. But one thing I have been noticing today is Putin has boot down. Well, what am I talking about? Obviously, I'm talking about the fact that after going to his parliament and doing something that David Cameron failed to, he gained permission to use his military forces abroad, namely in Syria. Hours afterwards, we first got confirmation of this from the Pentagon that Russian airplanes and warships were taking part in airstrikes around the Homs area of Syria. Now, a few hours after that, we then got the kill cam footage coming out from the Russians and a strange condemnation from the West. Now, that's just a brief breakdown of what's going on. We're going to listen to the propaganda media, see what they've got to say. I'm going to bite my tongue at pieces through this actual little news section here. But we're going to come back and we're going to break it all down for you. Just what is happening as all the superpowers seem to be gathering in the Middle East.
The aftermath of Russia's first airstrikes in Syria, or so it's claimed. We can't know for sure. What is certain is Syria's civil war just became even more complicated. Russian warplanes for the first time sent into action in skies over Syria. In Moscow, Russian President Vladimir Putin defended his actions in terms of self-defense.
The only right way to fight international terrorism in Syria and on the territory of the states neighbouring it, as they are gangs of international terrorists that commit outrages there, is to act preemptively, to fight and eliminate fighters and terrorists on the territories they have already occupied, not to wait until they come to our home.
Russian air power has taken over a Syrian base near Latakia with more than 30 warplanes, protected by tanks and special force commandos. Russian officials say their planes have targeted Islamic State forces. Look at a map of Syria and a different picture emerges. This is the city of Homs, where the airstrikes are thought to have happened. It's nowhere near this area in pink, territory held by Islamic State. More likely to have been struck instead are other rebel groups fighting the Assad forces here in blue, as well as civilians. Vladimir Putin has...
Okay, now I just need to stop it there for 1 second. I want you to take note of the fact that the area that Russia are bombing is very close to the two strategic centres that Russia have in Syria anyway. The airbase at Latika and the naval base on the coast at Tartus. And did you notice there how they were quite quick to point out that there was civilians involved here? Listening.
Raised hopes of a united international response to the Syrian conflict. US President Barack Obama met him to explore its chances. Instead of seeking a political solution, Putin may well be simply shoring up his allies, the Assad regime. British Prime Minister David Cameron says it's too early to say for sure what Russia is up to.
If this is part of international action against ISIL and that appalling terrorist death cult outfit, then that is all to the good. If, on the other hand, this is action against the Free Syrian Army and in defence of Assad, the dictator, then obviously that is a retrograde step. But let's see exactly what's happened.
But observers warn a nasty, violent conflict may be about to become more dangerous.
I think the situation could deteriorate now if we're not careful, because if the Russians act in isolation, we'll then have effectively the people backed by the Americans in the West squashed and crushed. You'll have IS acting in certain parts of the country with near immunity, apart from when the Russians can get at them. And then you'll end up with the West being forced into trying to manage a situation which is even worse than we face now.
Most likely is escalation on the other side of Syria's civil war, from groups backed by other outside powers like Saudi Arabia and Gulf states. More violence, deepening conflict, with hundreds of thousands of civilians caught in the middle. Dominic Wag.
So there you go, folks. That's a quick kind of recap of what has been happening today from the propaganda press point of view. Now they're talking about a civil war in there. This is no civil war when we see all these foreign jihadists flocking to that country and being armed and supplied by the very same people who say they're in there to sort them out. The very same people who now hypocritically criticise Vladimir Putin for going in there and doing the job that they said they were going to do. Now, did you notice it's no longer collateral damage? It's civilians now. You see, I'm not a big fan of airstrikes, no matter who they come from. And I am not in any way belittling the fact that there will be civilian life lost. These missiles, for as precise as they are still very indiscriminate. So let's not say that I'm making out that Vladimir Putin and his forces are any better than the ones in there. However, he didn't start this. And if they want to eradicate this refugee problem that is unfolding, and it's not just refugees coming, there's all sorts coming now on the back of that crisis, then they have to eradicate all the terrorists. That's right, all of the terrorists, not just one group over another. And we have got the Pentagon and their US chiefs there coming out, and they are saying, listen, Vladimir Putin isn't even bombing ISIS and ISIL. He is bombing the moderate rebels who we actually back, who fight alongside us in our fight against Assad. Oops! Well, they've let it slip there then, haven't they? Who the real enemy is. And for once, just for once, maybe, I bet the Foot Clan of the New World Order are feeling the heat tonight. Now, something else that is worrying the New World Order when they look at the satellite images of all this armaments building up in Syria, of which there is, let's see what they've got now, 28 fighter jets, 14 helicopter gunships and transporters, as well as 6 tanks, 15 artillery pieces, and some other equipment that includes air-to-air fighting abilities and ground-to-air. Now, the Americans are quick to point out that ISIS, ISIL, whatever they're calling the Foot Clan this week, they don't have an air force, so why do the Russians have that? We all know why the Russians have that, and I would argue that ISIS do have an air force, and they're wearing the flags of the UK, the USA, France, and any other country involved in the coalition. But you know, this is where it gets even more ridiculous, guys, because they're shouting about how, well, they don't need any ground-to-air defences. ISIS don't have drones. Yet back on the 18th of March, the Agency of France Press, the AFP, they reported that US warplanes had bombed a drone used by extremists of the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. And this had been done in Iraq, making the first American-led forces to have targeted an unmanned aircraft flown by the jihadists. Now, at the time, that was used as an excuse to get even more military operations in there. But now, fast forward to Vladimir Putin going in there and doing the job proper. Oh, well, they're shouting about, well, they obviously don't have any air forces, guys. But their own propaganda told us that they did. So, there's some of the things, and I'll come to Johnny Whistles first. Your thoughts on the fact that Vladimir Putin is arguably the strongest leader in the world right now. I'm not saying that makes him good, bad, or indifferent, but when it comes to the rest of these clowns, he seems to win hands down.
Oh, it's crazy to think, Kev, that we're talking about Putin. Well, not really, because we've been saying this. He's been stopping wars for the last, I don't know how long. I hate when they say this, when you were talking about collateral damage, Kevin. Now they're using this word children now to make it sound 10 times worse than what it is. It's always been children. It's just that we don't ever hear that word getting mentioned anytime there's any children killed in one of the strikes.
Exactly,
Sickening.
Johnny. And let's not lose sight of the fact that children, people, no matter whether it's from Russian bombs or our bombs or no matter what bombs, they're still people, innocent people, losing their lives. Let's just hope that this can bring some kind of quicker end to the violence. And Marty, you look at this area, obviously, in depth, in detail. And one thing that we're seeing right now is basically we've got Russia in there taking on, arguably, a proxy army of not only the West, as I say, but just as much so Israel. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, we actually had a couple of months back, I don't know if anybody remembers, but we had Israel actually carrying out airstrikes on Syrian government positions, and that was actually leading to the advancement of the IS fighters in certain regions, and that's why they were actually gaining so much traction, because they were being helped out by the friends there with the airstrikes and stuff. So it is a lot of crap that we're being told in the media right now about the whole situation. And someone else speaking a load of crap about that is Mr. David Cameron. Had a little bit of a rant before on YouTube about it. I don't know if you want to listen to it.
Go for it, Marty boy.
So I found this clip of Mr. David Cameron speaking over in America. Pretty much the only interview he did whilst over in the States, over on CBS this morning. Total propaganda. Just want to play a little minute or so of this and give them a little roundup. Check it out.
This week, the war in Syria is one of the biggest topics at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Monday, Presidents Obama and Putin met at the United Nations. The United States and Russia sharply disagree over how long Syrian President Bashar al-Assad should stay in power. There's also a new report about the rapidly increasing number of foreign fighters going to Syria to join ISIS. They include hundreds of Americans and British citizens. Hundreds of thousands of refugees are fleeing Syria, and many are traveling to Europe. This influx has overwhelmed European leaders. British Prime Minister David Cameron is here for his only appearance on United States television during the General Assembly. Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to CBS this morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
Can we talk about Syria? Because you have said Bashar al-Assad is a war criminal and should be prosecuted.
Yes, he has done appalling things in his country. He's massacred hundreds of thousands of his own citizens.
Just let me stop there. We know that is total crap. And we kind of smashed those conspiracy theories that the Western media was putting out right back at the start of this conflict. So go and check 2011 and go and see all the false claims of Assad using chemical weapons on the people and barrel bombs. And then go and look at the actual evidence of it being the rebels and these IS fighters that were actually going into full villages and slaughtering men, women and children and just causing chaos as soon as they came over to across the border into the Syria.
Millions have fled, and so in my view, he has broken international law, and he has to go. And I know there are some people who are thinking, well, look, ISIL is even worse than Assad, so shouldn't we somehow cut a deal with Assad to team up and take on ISIL?
That's the Russian president's position.
Sounds enticing, but even if you thought it was the right thing to do, which it isn't, it wouldn't work. Because, Assad is the recruiting sergeant. So you were saying get rid of Assad first before you continue the attack? You need to do both. You need to do both.
Just wait for it. The golden one's coming right up.
You need a Syria free of ISIL and Assad. The point I'm making is Assad is one of the recruiting sergeants for ISIL because of what he's done to his people. That is.
Oh, you mean the Western media is one of the biggest recruiters for ISIL because of the propaganda that you put out in the first place, even conflicting all the actual footage from what was going on in Syria. Because it was part of your little plan, wasn't it, to destabilize it and get Assad out of the picture. So you really had to demonize him as a war criminal, just like Libya and Iran and so on and so on.
One of the reasons why people are flocking to ISIL to fight for ISIL. So that method that some put forward wouldn't work. We need a Syria free of both.
Do you believe?
Oh, there we go, folks. So we need a Syria free of both. Well, I mean, who are they to say how long Assad should stay in power? But the reason they can do this and the reason they have so much traction is, like I say, because of the propaganda war that they put out themselves. And if you actually seen David Cameron's speech at the UN Assembly, he talks about ramping up the propaganda war on ISIS. They were his exact words, and his speech alone was very telling. Now, there you go, guys. That about sums it up.
A recruiting sergeant for ISIS. This is a guy that you can't leave alone in a room with a bacon sandwich for any more than 2 minutes. He is no better than a pig farmer at the end of the croft. I can't believe he actually sat there, said that with a straight face, and that prostitute not only took it, he gobbled it all up. And do you know what's worse? What's worse is the fact that they expect all of you out there to be that dumb you believe that. That's how dumb they think we all are. Not just yous, but all of us. How ridiculous is this getting? And let's go back to what they're talking about today as well, because you've got them talking about the moderate rebels. They are still creating a war situation with Assad's army. And all of this was started and orchestrated by the same people who started and orchestrated Ukraine. Somewhere else where we've seen Poroshenko in recent days basically signing agreements that take them into NATO, which was something that Vladimir Putin said was a no-no. Something else Vladimir Putin said was a no-no in the wake of Colonel Gaddafi's assassination on television was that he would never ever let the West do that again. And 2013, he stood strong when there was a fake false flag, fake chemical attack to be blamed on Assad. He stood firm. We avoided war. And now here we are today, Russia taking on the globalist Foot Clan. Again, I'm not some hammer and sickle flag carrying kind of communist. Communism, just another box, and probably the flavour of a new world order when it's finally implemented. But I tell you what, guys, hats off to him for going in there and doing that. And let's take a listen before we go out to the break, and I'll get your thoughts on this, Marty and Jono. This is the American propaganda machine. Ho ho ho, you think our one's bad? Take a listen to this.
Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, Fox News strategic analyst, author of the book Valley of the Shadow. Colonel, good morning to you.
Good morning.
There's a lot to go through here. Putin tells us to get out. What will we do?
Well, for now, we'll continue to fly. But make no mistake, Putin thinks Obama is so weak that I believe that Putin would not be reluctant to shoot down a U.S. drone as a warning and possibly even bring down a U.S. manned aircraft, knowing Obama would not respond militarily. Putin would say, oh, it's all an accident, it's a misunderstanding, we need to deconflict, you need to get out of the airspace. And Putin is on a roll. And by the way, Bill, he is not hitting Islamic State. That's his line. Got to defeat Islamic State. He's hitting the opposition in between the Islamic State and Assad's government. And it's transparent. He wants to wipe out all of the opposition to Assad except Islamic State, leaving us with a stark choice, leaving the world with a stark choice, support Assad or support Islamic State. This guy is good, and we've got a pixie dust president who still thinks he can
support us or support the Islamic State. Now, when George Bush said something similar after 9/11, he was absolutely lauded for it. You're either with us or you're with the terrorists. Pretty much the same thing as what he's implying there. And Marty, he was on about the fact that possibly, just possibly, we could see the Russians taking down American fighter jets or drones. But I put to you, if such a thing did happen, should we be looking again back at the Mossad, the false flag experts?
By way of deception, thou shalt create war, I think that is. So, yeah, nothing surprises me at this stage in the game. Just want to give a little shout to Unconfirmed Truth in the chat. Sent me some information there, and it's a Wikipedia page of the Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare game. And that game was actually released in 2007, but the game is set when you play it in 2011, and it shows some kind of Russian civil war. Very much like you see in Ukraine, and it also shows a Middle Eastern country being invaded and a leader being taken out. And guess what that leader's called? Al-Assad.
So, of course, when the guys from that game, Marty, met with the people from the Pentagon, something that was in the mainstream news, they tried to tell us again, thinking we're all dummies, that they were basically asking the Call of Duty coders and gamers what weapons they were using in the game, because they wanted ideas for their future weapons. Absolute baloney. This is the programming and the mind control that we are all under. And I'm a victim of this mind control. I don't mind admitting to it. And it doesn't matter how much I think I've actually got rid of this. It's still there to this day. Because watching these images today, Johnny, of airstrikes going in, it kicked a soldier back into me. Now I know that what I'm watching is death from above. But that is the power of mind control. We'll get Johnny's thoughts on that and Marty's thoughts on everything else right after the break, guys. This has been epic. And remember, just because we talk war doesn't mean for you to be scared. we're trying to remove all of that for you. So we'll be back after these short messages, Wookiees.
This is the Kev Baker Show.
Welcome back, everyone. It's the second half already to tonight's broadcast of the Kev Baker Show right here. We have got 30 minutes to go of September, and then that woo-filled month is behind us once and for all. But I tell you what, I wouldn't change a thing because we had some absolutely brilliant radio in the build-up to that. I tell you what, guys, I don't think I can learn any more there is to learn about blood moons. Just saying.
No, and I got to see one anyway, which is quite cool. So
I wasn't, Johnny, because I must admit I did partake in a little sleep at that point. I did get some, that's right, folks. I do sleep, it's not just a myth. But how was it, man? Were you howling? Was there people in the street going mad? Or
no, it was actually quite quiet. It was about 3:30 a.m., but it was amazing, Kev. It was beautiful. It was pure red.
Absolutely fantastic, folks. And if you are still here, as we will be in the year 2033, when we are at the capstone of the alternative media pyramid, we'll be the new media by then. There will be another blood moon. 2033. You couldn't make numbers and blood moons like that up, guys. But yeah, watch this space. And towards the end of the show, talking of watching space, the apocalyptic rocks are coming. More of that as we go on. Now, Johnny, I'm going to be coming back to you in a moment because you are our resident sky watcher. But first of all, to round up what is happening over in the Middle East, and with all these geopolitical chess pieces moving ever closer together, Marty, I believe we've had Lavrov and Rubberface Kerry having a meeting, and what's come out of that?
Oh, well, yeah, I don't appear to... Oh, here we go. Yeah, sorry, I have that up now. You kind of caught me off. My bad. That's why we love live radio. Yeah, well, it's saying that Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has held the third meeting in the space of only a few days within the US, and he's been meeting with Secretary of State John Kerry to discuss the cross-country coordination to resolve the Syrian crisis. He says, today we devoted our meeting to what our presidents agree when they have met here on the September 28th meeting. The first instruction to us was to make sure that the military of the United States, the coalition led by the United States on the one hand, and the military of the Russian Federation on the other hand, engaged in some kind of operation at the request of the Syrian government. And he says to get in touch and establish channels of communication to avoid any unintended incidents. So it's basically trying to set up some kind of joint plan so that there's no kind of friendly fire, so to speak. They're just getting scared now, I think.
Well, you know, it's not the only conflict that is raging in the world right now. And one of these forgotten conflicts, Johnny is going to bring us up to date with. Johnny, what is happening in Yemen?
Yemen it's actually an absolute abysmal state just now, Kev. To give you an example, on Monday, an airstrike on a Yemeni wedding by the Saudi coalition, the first reported death toll was 40. That's now risen to 135, and many of these were women and children. These are weapons that are supplied by the US, using cluster bombs as well. Now, the Arab coalition deny any part, obviously, but it's quite ironic that a Saudi prince has promised Bentleys to all the pilots that took part in this bombing of the wedding. Now, they're actually targeting bridges and highways, Kev. Now, the Yemeni people, they're accusing them of war crimes. And it's hard not to when you look at what they're shelling. A bottled water factory, 17 dead. Houses for employees of a power plant, 65 dead. A dairy plant, 35 dead. Now, there's a total of 2,355 people dead and 4,860 wounded. Now, this is just from March this year. Now, this, what can only be described as indiscriminate shelling of civilian populated areas to me, is a war crime.
Well said, Johnny. And it is a war crime. It really is. But of course, Saudi Arabia, they are in the club. And they are definitely in the club when it comes to things as big as 9/11. Now, obviously, we know who the Zionist elephant in the living room is when it comes to 9/11. However, another nation that played a huge part in the actions that day was Saudi Arabia. And we have got a US District Court judge has just dismissed claims against Saudi Arabia that it provided material support to Al-Qaeda ahead of the September 11th attacks, ruling that the country has sovereign immunity. Ooh. This is the kind of power that that country has, Marty. The kind of country that, if you talk about maybe wormholes and interdimensional stuff like that, you'll probably end up getting stoned in the street. But hey, don't have a go at their regime, right?
Yeah, it is kind of crazy. I know they were saying in that report as well that in the aftermath of 9/11, more than 3,000 relatives had actually been suing Saudi Arabian companies for damages and stuff like that. But the 9/11 Commission actually found that there was no evidence that Saudi Arabia helped finance Al-Qaeda because Al-Qaeda wasn't even involved, wasn't it? It's total crap now you're seeing come out of there. And let's not forget, when we're talking about dictators and extremist countries, Saudi Arabia is top of that list because the public executions is at an all-time high this year.
Exactly. I mean, some of the things you see coming out of that country is horrendous. It is like something from the Dark Ages. But we don't see them pulled up in front of the UN Court of Human Rights. No, in fact, they actually put forward a motion that they head the damn Council on Human Rights. That's right, where women can look at a guy twice in the street and get stoned to death. They want to head up human rights. But then again, in a world where our defence departments launch offensive wars, who knows? Anything is possible. Now, with all this going on, in the past weeks and months, we've often brought you stories of Russian aggression in the skies over the UK. And yesterday, I was even talking about the fact that not only was social media awash with things from the sky with the chemtrails, but Glasgow was absolutely hammered. And little did I know that the mainstream, or at least the press up here, Johnny, they actually covered the skies yesterday. Come on, man, tell us what is happening. Was it MH370 up there, or is it, as they say, just a mystery plane?
It could be a plane from another dimension, Kev.
Oh, don't you start me.
No, but Kev, this thing was going round for God knows how long, and a crazy, crazy flight pattern that is nothing like anything else.
Figure of eight, would you say, like an infinity sign almost? Marty, this thing, there was people in my work today telling me about this, man. And yeah, Johnny, tell us what's happened, because we've had the press covering this now, haven't we? Yeah,
we have, and the thing is, people saying it was a mystery plane, that nobody could identify this thing. Now, we were talking yesterday about the, as you said, chemtrail to death yesterday. It was absolutely disgusting. And yet, who knows, Kev, is that the plane that we were watching going over all that time, back and forth all day?
I think it was, Johnny, and one of my friends in work, Big Davy, and I'm wondering if that's the Buddha in the chat room, because he does actually monitor everything to do with aviation, and anytime something happens in the skies, I go to him. He sits and watches all these accidents, all these documentaries, a wealth of information. Now, there's a thing called Flight Radar 24. It's an app we can all get on our phone for free. And when you see the chemtrail planes out, just go to Flight Radar 24, and sometimes you can pick out the actual plane that's doing it. Well, the Flight Radar 24, Johnny, that ended up in the newspapers, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Unbelievable, Kev.
And the thing is, when Davey, the man in the work, the aviation expert, looked back, this plane disappeared off radar somewhere heading towards Russia over Kazakhstan. Now, here's the thing, folks. Kazakhstan, the spaceport, Very, very Illuminati place indeed. Go and look at the capital city of Astana. I mean, this place looks like, if you think of the information that Robert Homrich was sharing the other night, this stuff is on steroids. But what else is in Kazakhstan? There are a lot of spooky kind of air bases, namely the CIA. So, if this was really a mystery plane, Marty, flying back towards Russia, amidst everything that's been going on in recent months, surely the press would say, well, the Russian bears were probing the Glasgow skies today, but nothing like that. Just a mystery plane. I think we caught the CIA a flight, man.
Yeah, well, if you look at the flight path there that the flight radar site picked up, it actually took off from Lincolnshire, where there is an actual RAF base, and people are speculating that it was a RAF spy plane. Now, an RAF spokesman actually said that the flight was a routine Sentinel mission used for ground surveillance and mapping. So you telling me that they need to keep circling Scotland like that, and then you're saying that it ended up over in Russia, Kazakhstan way?
Kazakhstan way. And here's the thing as well. There was somebody on Facebook, and I believe it's John Taylor, I think his name is. Now, he was the guy that was doing some brilliant work in and around Hampstead. But it was just a couple of days ago, I seen one of his Facebook posts, and it was concerning, guess what? A mystery US Air Force plane above the skies of Liverpool. What is going on above our skies right now? I would love to know, but I think it's quite funny how last night we were speaking about this, and today the Evening Times and I believe the Daily Record in Scotland are covering this. And do you know what good comes out of this? We're going to see a whole heap of people looking up. And I'm really, really proud, Whistles, to be living in a city where we had enough public kind of push that enough people phoned the media that they were forced to actually cover this. And I think we should all give ourselves a big, huge pat in the back in Scotland tonight. And, of course, don't forget, we've banned GMO here as well.
Yeah, exactly. As you say, Kev, there was a mass outpour of pictures that was put on Facebook, and obviously somebody has looked at that and phoned the Daily Record and says, hey, you got to look at this. So, good stuff.
Yeah, just to add into that there, John, I remember you saying about the chemtrails and stuff over there yesterday. Further down in that report from the BBC, I think it was the one I was reading, it said that fine weather meant that crisscrossing sky trails had actually been spotted across the country, which tied into the flight mapped data there. So, yeah, definitely something going on.
Sky Trails? Sky Trails? What is that? The name of Steven Spielberg's latest Alien movie? I'll give them Sky Trails. Geoengineering. I think I might even email the Daily Record a copy of the Clifford Carnicom show. And maybe then they'll learn all about, air quotes, Sky Trails. Have you ever heard the like? But let's keep looking up, folks, because forget the blood moons. Forget the asteroids that didn't hit us. John, tell us what's happening. More apocalyptic psyops? Surely not.
Well, Kev, we've got 6 massive space rocks that will zoom past Earth tomorrow. Now, some of the rocks are really large. It says one direct hit on London would destroy the whole city. But luckily, the 6 asteroids are set to brush past Earth, although one is a 49-metre object called asteroid 2015 SZ2. That will come just within 316,000 miles.
Sounds like the latest spec from computer, Johnny.
Yeah, I know, Kev. No, but that one's quite close, Kev. So just let's hope CERN isn't on and pumping out some magnetic force somewhere.
No doubt it's pumping out something, but you know, this is following on from what we were talking about the other night, and all the hype that comes from the paper we were highlighting the other night is the Express. And I bet you the Express is full of it again, and that one author full of his apocalyptic psyop. And it's interesting that this story is back in the press today, and more apocalypse kind of stuff, because in the UK tonight, our cable network, Sky Television, their big budget comedy show, You, Me, and wait for it, yep, you guessed it, the apocalypse, it is starting tonight. And we always talk about how they try and condition us. And I think this is just a way to keep us in an apocalyptic mindset, because most people think of apocalypses as like Armageddon, but it's not necessarily the case. Just to be showing something can be apocalyptic because it has been revealed to you. So as much as they try to weaponize their words of war, because that's what they're now becoming, just bear in mind what it actually means. Unbelievable stuff. But you know, maybe, just maybe, they've got these planes up there, guys, and they're spraying some kind of silk woven by spider goats, and they're going to deflect these space rocks out of here, back up to Mars, where they're going to create a tsunami and all that water they've found. Told you to go woo by the end of the show, Marty.
Maybe that's where MH370 is. It's caught up there in a cocoon.
So come on, guys. The water on Mars. Come on, NASA.
Oh.
Marty! NASA are telling us we have got water on Mars. And of course, water, a very essential part of life, my man. Your thoughts on this latest NASA apocalypse revelation bunk?
Well, I did have a little rant about this on YouTube because...
Oh, come on, man. Share. I missed it.
A lot of people were trying to say that this was going to be the alien disclosure, and it was very symbolic because it was on the 28th, the Blood Moon Day, Monday, and there was a lot of speculation to this being, like I say, the disclosure event. But prior to that, I didn't really know that it was going to be this moon thing myself, so I didn't really comment on it. And then we had the announcement there from NASA. Never a straight answer. Talking about they'd found, well, the thing that got me, all the titles everywhere was saying breaking news, basically, that NASA has confirmed water or NASA has found water. But then when you actually seen what they were saying that the hypothesis for water is looking better. Their argument holds more water. But basically, I just think what a load of crap, because there's been many of NASA scientists come out over the years saying that it looks like there's ice under the surface of Mars, and there's been all kinds of research done by people showing that at some point in time, Mars was probably a habitable planet, just like this one right here, and something happened and changed that. So it's just a load of crap and a way to get more funding. They think we don't remember the reports that they've been putting out over the last couple of years, and I just seen it as a whole big hype for nothing, rinse and repeat event. Well, being an alien kind of follower myself, we could look back in years to come on this being the drip start to the full disclosure, because we can't have life without that water, right? But it comes from NASA. So can we believe anything they say? And Marty's right. People have been calling about water on Mars for years. You can go back to when the early telescopes were about and people were first looking at this planet. People were speculating as to the fact that it had ice on its polar caps. So why now? Why now? Well, A, we've got the release of the Martian film, probably no coincidence, but this kind of ties in to my whole staged, fake alien disclosure, because it has been timed for something. And you know, there's a lot of things we talk about on this show. We speak about Russia. We speak about international terrorism from the Middle East. Just 2 minutes ago, Johnny was sharing stories about asteroids. And you know, this should ring a bell with anyone out there that claims to be any kind of woo expert at all, because it sounds a little like a warning that Dr. Carol Rosen gave us. Listen to this.
Good morning, my name is Carol Rosen. In 1974, after being a 6th grade school teacher, I was introduced to the late Dr. Wernher von Braun in the U.S., the father of rocketry. In my first meeting with him, during that first 3.5 hours, he said to me, Carol, you will stop the weaponization of space. And I said, you know, teachers don't stop until June. He said, no, you have to understand, this is February, and we have to prevent the weaponization of space because there is a lie being told to everyone that the weaponization of space is now first being based upon the evil empire, the Russians. There are many enemies, he said, against whom we're going to build this space-based weapon system, the first of whom was the Russians, which was existing at that time. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be terrorists. Then there would be third world countries. Now we call them rogue nations or nations of concern. Then there would be asteroids. And then he would repeat to me over and over, and the last card, the last card, the last card would be the extraterrestrial threat.
Damn, I love that clip. It's got everything. It's got ex-Nazi scientists. It's got alien woo. And you know, Johnny, we're even hearing Edward Snowden talking aliens nowadays. But let's get your thoughts on what all of this means, if anything at all, man. We've had Marty's take. We've had my take. Let's get the Whistler's take.
Well, NASA, as somebody was saying in the chat there, for the 5th time, probably coming out and telling us that there's water on Mars. Kev, why? I don't get this Mars thing, finding water on it, Kev. If we're supposed to be doing things in space, do you know what I mean, with technology that is so far beyond our wildest dreams.
I would say that's the kind of a symptom of the parallel kind of civilizations at work there. That's just one way of explaining that, Johnny. I totally get where you're coming from. And again, why now? Why from NASA now? They've probably known all along. Look at the artifacts and all the archaeology up there, Johnny.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, anybody would have expected them to come out with that. I was expecting something about maybe the artifacts that they were finding, Kev. When I found out it was water, again, I was really disappointed, mate.
Oh, come on, man. I was hoping it would all coincide with the Pope being over there and we would get Alf coming out. Do you know what I mean? Some alien life form coming out, greeting us all with 6 fingers. No, I'm not talking about the Queen, folks. Reptilians, Marty. Who knew?
Yeah, like John, I was very disappointed as well. I actually watched the live stream conference, but I didn't expect anything spectacular from them, to be honest, because like the guy in the chat there said, and like I was saying earlier, it has been said many times before. Even in January 2010, a large group of scientists from NASA published an article saying that there was evidence of water on Mars. And then you've had all kinds of guys in universities that have done stuff, like you were saying before, with telescopes and all kinds of tests and stuff. So it's really nothing new, to be honest. And they've had the rover up there for God knows how long.
Maybe.
This is the best they can do, yeah.
Maybe they've had the rover up there. Oh, yeah. Did I say that? But
you know,
you know, remember, even the pictures that we allegedly see from up there, they've been skewed. They've had the hue changed so that it looks more red than it actually is. Now, Captain K, Randy Kramer, who's been on here, he says it smells very much oxidized, rusty, ties in with the kind of surface we see on there. Who knows? But I tell you what, when it comes to Mars, forget the surface, guys. Let's get up to the moon, Phobos, and let's find out who put that damn obelisk there. Yep, that's right. There's a phallic symbol on one of the moons of Mars. Now, that was brought to us by Buzz Aldrin, no less. Now, I would love to start a petition at the White House, and I think we should get some of our American brothers to do this, guys. Let's call for Buzz to be the head of NASA, and then we can go to infinity and beyond. I had to, Johnny. I just had to, man.
Well, I would give it to Buzz Aldrin as well, because you're not going to get anything out of this Masonic shambles that is running it just now.
What are you saying in the chat about Mars water with Bernstein bears? What are you on about? Are there even bears up there, man?
Oh, well, if you think about it, do you know what I mean? Is Mars water? We've heard it before, but NASA will say, no, we're just coming out of it. No, we heard it in 1976. No, we're just coming out of it.
Well, I tell you what, folks, all this talk of Mars, I really have been looking forward to the film Martian for a while. And again, Marty, nothing happens by chance and by accident. Everything timed.
No, it doesn't, because a couple of months back you actually had the cast and all the directors and stuff actually meeting with NASA officials, and they had a little tour of the Jet Propulsion Lab and dinner, I believe. So is it any surprise that we have this water on Mars thing come out? It's probably some co-opted plan to create more revenue for the film or something.
It's got to make you wonder, folks, the next time you look up at night and you see all of those twinkling gems in the dark sky. Think how many of those stars have planets like this around it. And then just